morning, class. Nice to see you. I'm Mary Carroll, and this is How to Survive English 101. Make sure you subscribe below. I'm going to be posting every single Monday. I'll be here all semester long to help you pass that class. Today's lesson is how to evaluate sources. I'm assuming you're already starting your first paper, and here we go. How do you know what sources will be good to quote from? All right, and you notice behind me I said right off the bat, don't use Wikipedia. Yeah, I don't want to diss Wikipedia. I actually like Wikipedia, and I actually have donated to them. I think they're great for quick background information. I'm a huge fan of historical fiction, so I'll be watching some movie, and I'll quickly look up Wikipedia really fast. Wait a minute, who was John of Gaunt, you know, and things like that. I think they're absolutely fabulous for that. But because the articles are not vetted by professors in the field, you can't quote from them. These articles can be edited by almost anybody, and because of that, you have to take what you're reading with a grain of salt. They're great for quick background, like I said. However, you don't want to quote from Wikipedia in a college level paper. One thing you could use Wikipedia for, if you want to scan down an article that's been really helpful, you might take a look at the bibliography. The bibliography might have some useful tips for you, useful books that you could go look up in the university library that might be helpful. But otherwise, do not quote from Wikipedia. You can use it to give you a real quick background, get yourself oriented in some kind of some information that you're looking for, but otherwise do not quote from it, okay? All right, next one, and I kind of have already mentioned it, get to know the university stacks. That means they're stacks of books, right? The reason you want to get to know the university stacks and your campus library is because it is not the same at all as your community library. It's very different. The books in the university library or campus library are all written by professors who are experts in their field. All of the books have been vetted or reviewed by other professors who are experts in the field before they were allowed to be published. So the point of a college education is that you are meant to spend time in professional conversations. You want to get your feet into it. You want to start reading around in it, get familiar with what all the professionals are saying about whatever topic you're delving into, and then quote from them. So yeah, absolutely, you want to go to your campus library and get real comfortable wandering around in those university stacks, okay? All right, next source. Let's talk about why can't I just Google it? I know that we Google everything. I Google everything, but I'm not going to quote from something for a college level paper that I Googled. The reason is because everybody, including your Uncle Al, can put something out on the internet these days. There really isn't any way to check the authority of the person who is out there. You have to get to know them in order to trust who they are and to trust whether or not they're giving you information that you can rely on. The other reason is that in most of the papers that you're going to be writing in college are not the kind of papers where you can Google and just go out and find the answer. It's not an elementary school book report or an elementary school. I remember I did a report on Finland as kind of a fourth grade geography class. Well, I was just looking up information and reporting on their main industries and the language and the geography of Finland and that kind of a thing. And I turned in my little booklet. What you're doing at college is not that. You are thinking through topics and your thesis, which is going to be your opinion, and you are writing a paper to support your opinion. And to support your opinion and try to convince the reader that you are right, you need to be quoting from professionals and experts in the field. And so that's why you can't just Google an answer to your question. If you've asked a question that you want to govern your paper and you can find the answer out by just Googling it, you haven't asked a good enough question, okay? All right, next one. Learn to recognize appropriate online sources. Sure, we're in the internet age. There are appropriate online sources. There are two that I want to talk about. The first one are the large international databases that are available through your campus library and your campus internet system. So you want to become familiar with the ones that are available to you in your field. The ones that come to mind for me are JSTOR, Project Muse, MLA International, and there are at least a dozen others. You want to get to know them, get to know the ones that are appropriate for your subject area, learn to use them, get real familiar with them. The reason you want to use these is because they provide access to international periodicals. Periodicals are academic journals and magazines, so to speak, that publish only peer-reviewed articles. Peer-reviewed means that your professors have written articles that other professors in their field have reviewed, given them the thumbs up, said these are good to go, and those articles get published in these journals. So access to those periodicals are something you want to get real comfortable using. You're going to be researching through those periodicals through your entire 4 years at college. Those are appropriate online sources and they're available through your campus library. The other thing that I want to mention that are appropriate online sources for just about anybody are the websites that end in the .edu suffix. These are websites that are supported by universities themselves. Obviously, the .edu stands for education. And there are several really good sources out there. The one that comes to mind is the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Obviously, it's an encyclopedia, it's online, it's maintained by Stanford University. All the articles are written by professors in the field, and it's a fabulous source if any of your research leads you in that direction. There are other sources like that supported and staffed by the universities. Any of those would be appropriate to use. The other thing that is an appropriate online source are style guides. Most style guides have online sources and you're absolutely free to go use those. The Purdue OWL site I think has the Modern Language Association information online. The Chicago Manual of Style, CMS, APA, all of those style guides are online, and you know, those are perfectly good sources to use. I actually prefer to use hard copies of these things. I find them a little bit easier to thumb through and mark up so that I can go back and find other things, but it's up to you. If you want to use an online source, those are good ones to find out about, put them on your list, and these are acceptable, okay? Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is use your Noodle. Now, when you dive into these online sources and you're looking at old periodical articles, maybe you're in the university stacks, you find a book from the early 1960s, and you think, wow, there's a great chapter in here that I'm going to use. But then you start thinking, gee, is this kind of old? Did anybody publish anything after that? That's really what you need to be thinking about. Maybe you found an article or a chapter in a book, it was published in 1965, and you think, oh, this is too old, I don't think I can use it. But as it turns out, maybe later professors have written articles that refer back to that article that you've got. So it turns out, oh, this is a seminal article. So although maybe you won't quote it, maybe you'll just put it in your bibliography. We'll talk about that in another lesson about what to include in your bibliography. Or maybe you'll decide, yeah, I think I can quote it because it's a seminal article and it's okay. But you may also find, conversely, that you find other articles that actually make that particular one from 1965 obsolete. And you realize, oh, I really shouldn't use that one. These others, this one from 1992, seems to be the new standard. So you have to use your noodle. You have to be thinking all through your research process. You're balancing all of these sources. You're evaluating whether or not that source is good for you to use, and you're elevating your conversation to that college level, professional level. And good luck. You're going to have a great time. I actually love to do research, and I think you're going to have fun with it too. All right, our next lesson is going to be what to write first, the introduction, the body, or the conclusion. So I'll see you next time. Bye.